If you're new here, welcome to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep sharing stories that deserve to be heard. My phone buzzed against the stainless steel counter of the nurse's station at exactly 7:14 in the evening. I glanced down expecting a lab result or a schedule change. Instead, I saw an email notification from my father, Leo. The subject line read, "Simply update regarding summer reunion." I wiped my hands with sanitizer, the sharp smell of alcohol filling my nose, and opened the message. It was brief, brutally brief. "Archie, due to limited capacity at the main house this year, we unfortunately cannot accommodate you for the reunion weekend. Please make other arrangements if you plan to be in the area." I stared at the screen. The hum of the hospital faded into white noise. I wasn't just uninvited. I was being dismissed like a vendor whose contract had expired. The irony was sharp enough to cut. I wasn't just a guest at that estate. I was the reason it still had a roof. But in that moment, standing under the fluorescent lights, I didn't feel sadness. I felt a cold clinical clarity wash over me. It was the same feeling I got during a code blue. The emotion shuts off and the training takes over. Have you ever felt like the invisible one in your own family? Let me know your story down in the comments. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't cry in the break room bathroom. I didn't even type out a furious response demanding an explanation in my line of work. Panic is a liability. When a patient is hemorrhaging, you don't ask why they are bleeding. You stop the flow. You apply the tourniquet. You amputate if you have to. I sat down on the vinyl stool, the material squeaking slightly in the quiet room, and unlocked my phone again. I didn't open my email. I opened my banking application. My thumb hovered over the scheduled transfers tab there. It was pending for the first of the month, just like it had been for the last 6 years. $3,900. Labeled simply main mortgage. $3,900 a month. That was $42,000 a year. Over 6 years I had poured $112,000 into a property that my name was legally attached to, but my presence was apparently forbidden from. I looked at the number on the screen. It didn't look like money anymore. It looked like a tumor. For years, I had told myself this was my duty. My father, Leo, had framed it as an investment in our legacy. He had needed a cosign for the renovation loan, $120,000 and $80,000 to update the roof, the deck, and the wiring of the old family estate. He couldn't get approved on his own credit, not after his third failed business venture. So I stepped in, the capable daughter, the one with the steady income and the pristine credit score. I signed the papers. I set up the auto-pay. I realized then, staring at the blue light of the screen, that I had been operating under a delusion. It's a concept in economics called the sunk cost fallacy. The idea that you continue a behavior or endeavor as a result of previously invested resources. I kept paying not because they treated me well, but because I had already paid so much. I thought I was buying equity in my family's affection. I thought I was purchasing a permanent seat at the table, but love isn't a subscription service. You shouldn't have to pay a monthly premium just to be tolerated. I tapped the transfer. A menu popped up. Edit, skip. Cancel series. I selected cancel series. The app asked me for confirmation. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? I didn't hesitate, my pulse didn't even quicken. The line item vanished from the screen. Just like that, the digital tether that had bound me to their approval for half a decade was severed. It was a clean cut. Surgical. I closed the app and put the phone back in my scrub pocket. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of antiseptic and stale coffee. I felt lighter. The anger hadn't hit me yet. That would come later. I knew. But in that moment, all I felt was the cool, quiet satisfaction of a problem solved. They wanted me gone, fine, but they forgot that when you cut off the source, the lights go out. I walked back out to the floor. I had patients to tend to. I had lives to save, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to waste my energy trying to save people who were drowning me to stay afloat. The reunion weekend arrived like a cold front. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in my apartment 22 floors above the city, surrounded by glass and chrome and silence. It was a fortress of my own making, paid for with the money I earned saving lives, not the money I inherited or swindled. I made myself a cup of tea, the ceramic warming my palms, and did the one thing I knew I shouldn't do. I opened Instagram. I told myself it was recon intel gathering, but really it was just the human urge to touch a bruise to see if it still hurt, and it did. The first post was from my brother William. A video story. He was standing on the expansive deck overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. The deck that had cost $45,000 to reinforce 3 years ago. Money I had wired directly to the contractor, because my father's credit card was declined. Family time is the best time. William shouted over the wind, holding a beer. Behind him the ocean turned gray and beautiful. He panned the camera. There was my mother Olivia laughing, her head thrown back, a glass of Chardonnay in her hand. There was my father Leo Manning, the grill looking like the lord of the manor. There were cousins I hadn't seen in years, aunts and uncles who probably assumed I was too busy working to come. It wasn't just a party, it was a production, but what struck me wasn't their happiness. It was the complete seamless nature of my absence. There was no gap where I should have been, no empty chair, no paused conversation. It was as if I had never existed. They weren't missing me, they were thriving because of what I provided, and my physical presence was apparently the only cost they weren't willing to pay. I zoomed in on a photo my mother posted. The caption read, "Blessed to have this legacy for our children." Our children plural, but only one child was there. The anger finally arrived. Then it wasn't hot or explosive, it was cold. It started in my C****** T and spread to my fingertips, steadying them. They were drinking wine on a deck. I paid for they were sleeping under a roof. I ensured they were celebrating a legacy that was currently being subsidized by my 12-hour shifts in the trauma unit. I wasn't a family member to them. I was infrastructure. I was the plumbing, the wiring, the foundation, essential but meant to be hidden behind the drywall. I closed the app. I didn't comment. I didn't like the posts. I simply set the phone down on my granite countertop. The silence in my apartment felt different. Now it wasn't lonely. It was pregnant with potential. They thought they had erased me. They thought they could ghost me in my own life. But ghosts have a way of haunting the places. They are denied rest, and I was about to become the most terrifying kind of ghost. The one who holds the deed. Monday morning didn't break with sunlight. It broke with a digital tremor. My phone started vibrating on my nightstand at 7:30 am. I was already awake, drinking coffee, watching the city wake up below me. I let it ring. Leo. It rang again. And again. By the fourth call I answered. I didn't say hello. I just pressed the green button and held the phone to my ear. Archie, what the hell is going on with the bank? Leo didn't waste time on pleasantries. His voice was tight, high-pitched with the specific panic of a man who lives beyond his means. The mortgage transfer bounced. Insufficient authorization. You need to call your bank immediately and fix this glitch. It wasn't a glitch. I said. My voice was calm, steady, contrasting sharply with his frantic tone. I canceled the transfer. Silence for 3 seconds. There was just dead air. Then you what? I canceled the transfer. I'm not paying the mortgage anymore. Are you insane? His voice rose to a shout. Do you have any idea what you've done? We have vendors to pay from the party, the caterer, the tent rental. Those checks are going to clear today. If that mortgage money isn't in the account to cover the spread, we're going to overdrawn. The admission was breathtaking. He wasn't just using my money for the house. He was commingling funds using the mortgage transfer to float his cash flow for a party I wasn't invited to. That sounds like a problem, I said. But not my problem. Archie, stop being petty. He snapped. I know you're upset about the invite. It was a logistical error. Okay. Olivia felt terrible about it, but we simply didn't have the bedrooms. We had investors coming up, people crucial for William's new venture. We had to prioritize your family. You should understand that sometimes you take one for the team, take one for the team. I repeated. I've been funding the team for 6 years. Dad. I bought the uniforms, I built the stadium, and you benched me. Don't be dramatic, he scoffed. Look, transfer the money now and we can discuss this later. If you don't, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. You think you can just walk away. You need us, I need you. I asked, a laugh bubbling up in my throat. Dark and humorless. Dad, look around you. Look at the deck, look at the roof, look at the wine in your fridge. I don't need you. You are currently standing inside my charity. You ungrateful little. I'm hanging up now. I said good luck with the vendors. I ended the call. My hand was shaking slightly, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of finally saying it. He thought he had leverage. He thought he held the cards because he was the patriarch. He didn't realize the game had changed. He wasn't the player anymore. He was the liability, and liabilities get liquidated. I didn't wait for him to call back. I dialed a number I had saved under emergency professional. It was Arthur, a forensic accountant I had worked with 3 years ago, when a hospital administrator tried to embezzle from the nursing pension fund. Arthur was expensive, discreet, and terrifyingly good at finding money trails. People wanted hidden. Archie. He answered on the second ring. You don't call to chat. What's wrong? I need you to look into a property, I said, skipping the small talk. The estate in Maine. I co-signed a renovation loan 6 years ago. I need to know the current financial status, and I need you to look for any irregularities in income associated with that address. Irregular income? Arthur asked, his tone sharpening. You think they're laundering? I think they're spending money they don't have, I said, and I want to know where it's coming from. Give me 3 hours. It took him 90 minutes. When my phone rang, I was pacing my living room, the city view blurred by my own agitation. You were right to call, Arthur said. I found something interesting. Actually, I found something criminal. Tell me the property isn't just a private residence. Archie. It's listed on a luxury rental platform under the name The Cliffside Estate. It's been active for 18 months. I stopped pacing. Rental. High-end vacation rental. Arthur clarified. $12,000 a week during peak season. It's booked solid from June to September, but here's the kicker. The listing isn't under your father's name. It's under an LLC registered in Delaware. William Ventures, LLC. My brother, my unemployed, finding himself brother, was running a 7-figure hospitality business out of the house. I was paying for how much, I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Based on the booking calendar and average rates conservative estimate, they've pulled in over $120,000 and $70,000 in the last year alone, and according to the tax records, I pulled none of that income has been declared on the property taxes or used to pay down the principal on the loan. You co-signed the room, Spun. It wasn't just ingratitude. It wasn't just neglect. It was theft. They were monetizing my investment, pocketing the profit, and letting me carry the debt. They were living like kings on a castle built on my credit score. Send me everything. I said, every screenshot, every booking record, the LLC registration, everything. Archie, Arthur said, his voice dropping a register. If you use this, this is fraud. You could put your brother in jail. I looked out at the city skyline. Steel and glass reflecting the cold sun. I thought about the email. We cannot accommodate you. He put himself there. I said, I'm just turning on the lights. I hung up. The sadness was gone. The hurt was gone. All that was left was the cold, hard certainty of a diagnosis. The infection was deep, it was systemic, and it was time to cut it out. I drove north. The city faded into suburbs, suburbs into highways, highways into the rugged, pipelined roads of coastal Maine. For hours of silence, no radio, no podcasts, just the hum of the engine and the rehearsal of what I was about to do. I arrived at the estate just as the sun was beginning to dip, casting long bruised shadows across the driveway. There were 3 cars parked on the gravel, my father's SUV, my mother's sedan, and William convertible. The convertible I knew he couldn't afford. I didn't park in the guest spot. I parked right in front of the garage, blocking them all in. I walked up the stone path I had paid to have relaid 3 summers ago. The front door was solid oak, imposing. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my key. I wondered briefly if they had changed the locks, but arrogance is often lazy. They hadn't. The lock clicked, the door swung open. The house smelled of stale wine and expensive candles. I walked into the great room. They were all there, lounging on the custom leather sectional. William was on his phone laughing. My mother was flipping through a magazine. My father was pouring a drink at the wet bar. They froze. The silence that fell over the room wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Archie. My mother stood up, clutching her magazine like a shield. What are you doing here? I have a key. I said, my voice flat. It's my house. It's not your house. William sneered, not bothering to stand. You just co-signed. That doesn't make you the owner, and you weren't invited. Actually, I said, walking to the coffee table and dropping a thick manila folder onto the glass surface. The sound was like a gavel strike. It makes me the primary financial guarantor. And since the mortgage payment bounced yesterday because I canceled it, and since you've defaulted on the terms of the loan by running an unregistered commercial enterprise on residential property. I paused, letting the legal weight of the words settle. I am exercising my right to secure the asset. My father slammed his glass down. Commercial enterprise. What are you talking about? I opened the folder. The first page was a color printout of the Airbnb, listing the Cliffside estate hosted by William Adventures, LLC, $120,000 and $70,000 in revenue last year. I said, looking directly at William. His face went white, not a dime of which went to the mortgage, not a dime of which was declared to me. That's just a side thing. William stammered, helping out with expenses. You didn't help with expenses. I corrected him. You profited from my liability. That's fraud. William and Dad, you let him do it. This is a family home. My father shouted, his face turning a dangerous shade of red. You are trying to steal it from under us. I'm not stealing it, I said. I'm repossessing it. The air in the room changed. It shifted from annoyance to terror. They realized finally that I wasn't there to argue. I wasn't there to beg for an apology. I was there to foreclose on their entitlement. You have until sunset, I said. Pack what you can carry. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the vacuum before a collapse. My mother was the first to break it. She didn't scream, she dissolved. It was a tactical dissolution, the kind she had used for years to get her way. Tears welling up in her eyes, hands trembling, voice roping to a wounded whisper. Archie, please, she said, reaching for my arm but stopping short when I didn't flinch. You can't do this. We're your family. We just had a party. The house is full of food. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know, I said. Maybe you can rent an Airbnb. I hear William knows the market well. This is cruel. My father spat, stepping between me and my mother. You're doing this out of spite because you weren't invited to a barbecue. You're going to evict your own parents over a bruised ego. I'm evicting you over fraud. I corrected him, and it's not spite. I won't leave, William said, crossing his arms. He was trying to look defiant, but he looked like a child caught stealing from the register. I have tenants coming next week, a corporate retreat. They paid $7,000 up front. I can't just cancel you. Already canceled, I said. I contacted the platform an hour ago with the deed and the police report number. I filed for identity theft regarding the utility bills. The listing has been suspended. The money is being refunded from your account. William phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, stared at the screen, and the defiance drained out of him like water from a cracked glass. You reported me to the police, he whispered. Not yet, I said. I filed a report to establish ownership. The fraud charges, those are pending. I pulled my phone out and placed it on the coffee table. I dialed a number and hit speaker. It rang once. This is Amelia. My lawyer's voice filled the room, crisp and professional. Amelia, I'm with the occupants. I said they are refusing to vacate. Certainly, Amelia said. If the occupants do not vacate the premises voluntarily within the hour, we will proceed with filing criminal charges against William Ventures LLC for wire fraud, bank fraud, and grand larceny. Given the amount over $120,000 and $70,000, we are looking at a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. We will also be naming Leo and Olivia as accessories to the crime, as they knowingly facilitated the enterprise on a property they did not own. The room went dead silent. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the wind battering the windows. 10 years. My mother gasped. She looked at William. Leo, she pleaded. My father looked at me. He was searching for the daughter who used to seek his approval, the girl who would do anything for a pat on the head. He didn't find her. He found a landlord. Pack the car, he said, his voice hollow. Dad, William protested. Pack the car. Leo roared, the veins in his neck bulging. Do you want to go to jail because she'll do it? Look at her face, she'll do it. It took them 35 minutes. I stood by the door watching. I didn't help. I didn't hinder. I just witnessed. They threw clothes into garbage bags. They grabbed the expensive wine. They took the leftover catering trays. It was a chaotic, humiliating retreat. When the last bag was in the trunk of my father's SUV, he turned to me on the porch. The wind was whipping his hair, making him look smaller, older. "You've destroyed this family," he said. "No," I replied, closing the heavy oak door between us. "I just stopped subsidizing it." I turned the deadbolt. The click echoed through the empty house. It was the loudest sound I had ever heard, and it sounded exactly like freedom. The silence after they left was absolute. The house, usually filled with the noise of their entitlement, was now just a shell of wood and stone. I walked through the empty rooms. I saw the scuffs on the floor where they had dragged their furniture. I saw the empty wine bottles in the recycling bin. I saw the ghost of the family I had tried to buy for 6 years. I spent the next 3 days cleaning. I scrubbed the floors until my knees ached. I washed the windows until the salt spray was gone. I stripped the beds and donated the linens. I was sanitizing the wound. I was preparing the patient for recovery. I didn't sell the house. That would have been the easy financial decision, the logical end to a bad investment. But I wasn't interested in logic anymore. I was interested in healing. I called Amelia, my lawyer, on Friday morning. "I want to restructure the ownership." I said, "I'm not selling. I'm donating the use of the property." Donating? She asked. "To whom?" "To the healers who are drowning." I said, "I want to turn this place into a respite center, a retreat for crisis nurses, trauma surgeons, first responders, people who spend their lives saving others and have nowhere to go when they need saving themselves. I want to offer it to them for free. A week of silence, a week of peace, a week where no one asks them for anything. That's generous," Amelia said, her voice softening. "And the operating costs, I'll cover them." I said, "It costs less than supporting a family that hates me." I renamed the estate. It wasn't the Cliffside Estate anymore. It was the Haven. 7 months later, the first guest arrived. She was an ER nurse from Chicago who had worked through the worst of the pandemic and hadn't slept a full night in 3 years. I met her at the door, not as a landlord but as a colleague. I gave her the key. I told her the fridge was full. I told her the ocean was hers. When she cried, I didn't offer empty platitudes. I just let her cry because I knew that sometimes the only way to heal is to finally be allowed to fall apart in a safe place. My family tried to reach out. When the news hit the local paper, they saw the article about the nurse who donated her $1 million view. They saw the praise. They probably saw a way back in. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't read their letters. I had built a sanctuary, and the first rule of a sanctuary is that you don't let the wolves back in. My story ends here. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thanks for listening and see you in the next videos.